Here on this channel, I talk about spirituality and personal growth, about cultivating compassion and other virtues, processing our emotions, healing emotional wounds, shifting our perspective, and transforming our psychology, as well as spiritual practices that can help us in these endeavors. And in regard to all of these things, there is an essential asset which many people seem to be without. I'll often hear from people who are deeply frustrated, who feel that whatever they're doing, it just isn't working, that they're not seeing the desired results. And there can be any number of reasons for this. In some cases, they're just not doing the work. But more often than not, the reason is impatience. All of these things, growth, healing, awakening, and so on, these things tend to take time and attention. And attention is also something that many people have difficulty with. Some of you may not make it all the way through this video before clicking on to something else to watch instead. But if you really want to make progress, you need both patience and attention. And patience doesn't mean waiting. Waiting means anticipating something. Waiting means that we're anxious for something to come, or something to happen, or something to be over with. But it's always about the future, whereas patience means presence. Patience means being attentive to the present moment, attentive to where you are, and being attentive to whatever is occurring in the present moment. And this includes being present with the process. I'm not saying that you don't set out to achieve something, because if you never did that, you would never do anything. Rather, you set out to achieve something, but then you let go of the outcome and give your attention to the process. The best way to ensure a good outcome is to attend to the process, to attend to the present moment. But if our attention is in the future, we aren't being present. And if you want to do something well, you need to give it your full attention. So whatever we may be attending to, and that may be healing some emotional wound, or letting go of some attachment, or cultivating compassion or self-acceptance, or it may be taking up a spiritual practice. Whatever the process or practice, these things require some degree of repetition and perseverance. Transformation rarely occurs instantaneously. It's something that we attend to each day, and each day we make some incremental progress. I've always liked the term growth, as in personal or spiritual growth, because growth is a process that can't be rushed. If you plant a seed, you can't force it to bear fruit. It has to go through a whole process of germination even before it breaks surface and rises out of the soil. And after that, it's still going to take a while for it to fully develop and mature. And in the meantime, all you can do is nurture it. But you can't rush the process. You have to be patient. But so many people lack patience. We begin some inner work, or we take up some spiritual practice, and after a few minutes or days or weeks, we decide it's not working. It's like planting a seed and deciding after a few days that it's not growing. And so you give up on it. You stop watering it and it dries up. And for all you know, it was just about to sprout. It could have become a beautiful flower, but you weren't patient enough to tend to it. You want the flower now. And because of your impatience, because you're not willing to tend to it, you never get the flower. More than anything else, it's our impatience that impedes the process. If we're expecting immediate results or spontaneous change, we're going to find ourselves disappointed and frustrated. We're going to feel agitated. And this gets in the way. Supposing you're wanting to be at peace, and so you take up some mindfulness practice. And after a few days, you're not feeling very peaceful. And so you start to get frustrated, thinking that it isn't working. But now you're more agitated than before. And it isn't because the practice doesn't work. It's because you're impatient. It's because you're not giving attention to the practice. Instead, you're thinking too much about the desired outcome, which is in the future. You're not being present with the practice. On the other hand, if we can relax and let go of the desired outcome and just be present with the practice, we're likely to experience that peace much sooner. In fact, you can only experience it in the present moment. And this is the paradox. The more impatient we are, the longer these things take. But with patience, there's a natural flow. Things move more smoothly, and the results come sooner. But even to say that isn't to put a time frame on it. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone moves at their own pace. And not everyone is starting out in the same place either. So we have to be present with wherever we happen to be on our own journey. If we're impatient, we're not being present. If we're impatient, we may give up too soon. But if we're patient, we might find that what we're seeking is already here. It could be our impatience, our anticipation, our constant moving toward the future that is preventing us from seeing this. So, how might we develop patience? Any sort of mindfulness practice can help us to develop patience. If you take up meditation, for example, all you're doing is sitting for a certain period of time and turning your attention to whatever is occurring in the moment. The aim is not to get to the end of the practice, but to be fully present in the practice. It's about letting go of the past and future and just resting your attention here in the present moment. And of course, life will give us plenty of opportunities to practice patience. When you're stuck in traffic, or on hold with someone on the phone, or when you're sitting in a waiting room, rather than waiting, take the opportunity to just be present. Whatever the situation, you can take that time to be mindful of the moment. And what choice do you have anyway? In these kinds of situations, you can create all kinds of agitation by resisting the moment, by wishing that you were someplace else, by wanting to hurry up and get on to the next thing. Or you can rest your attention in that moment and relax. Patience has a great deal to do with being unattached to results. When you're working on something, for example, there's a tendency to want some particular result. But if all of our attention is on the result, we're not paying attention to the work. And that's when we're most likely to make mistakes, especially if we're trying to rush the process. If you want to do something skillfully and have the best results, you have to be patient and attentive. If you just give your attention to the work, if you can be immersed in the work, immersed in the present moment, present with the process, the results are more likely to turn out well. And it's the same thing with everything, whether we're working on a project or learning a new skill or doing some kind of inner work. Whatever we're engaged in, we can learn to engage with presence and with patience.